for joining us for the September 3rd Board of Selectmen meeting. If everybody would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have nothing under announcements. Actually, Gary, do we know when they are going to start working on the Waterboro?
I got that later, but Friday is the start of construction.
So remind folks that there's going to be road construction going on Route 5 in the area of the elementary school. Starting on Friday, it's going to be a couple of weeks, and it is going to impact traffic. So folks that are commuting want to make sure they're giving themselves some extra time. They're finding an alternate route of travel.
I'll talk about that.
Madam Chair, just so you know, Lakeside has put it on their digital sign, and it's also been posted on Facebook for the area.
Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay. We have no appointments this evening. Hearing a delegation. Any member of the public wish to be heard this evening? Yes, sir.
My name is George.
If you could just come to the microphone and identify yourself, please.
Yes, my name is George Candu, and I own some lots in Lake Arrowhead behind on my taxes, and I have wanted to set a plan up to take care of that. It was on the auction scheduled that you are moving today,
Yes.
and I just wanted to discuss a plan to give you some time to sell this property.
Okay. What I would tell you to do is to go out into the lobby and speak to Sharon Reed. She's going to be this first window right here, and she can help you with that.
Well, I just wanted to find out when the auction was being put off to, because I don't know how long it might take to sell the land.
Yeah. We'll talk about the auction a little bit later.
Okay.
Okay?
I've already talked to everybody out there.
Okay, good.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Charles Thornton.
Okay. I
And-
believe that you probably are going to be wanting to speak to us at a little bit later on the agenda this evening. You want to talk about the consent decree, correct?
Yes, I do.
We have that as an agenda item, so if you want to speak to us a little bit later when we get to that item.
Fine,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Correspondence this evening, we have Representative Libby's newsletter, Planning Board workshop agenda, the Assessor Agent September calendar, the EcoMaine recycling reports, and the invitation to the Municipal Client Seminar. Reports and staff initiatives, Cemetery Committee. That's me. That's you. Come on up.
For me?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't mind me, I just spent 3 hours in the dentist office this afternoon, and I'm just getting the feeling back right there. It's been kind of a slow year, slow summer. The meeting attendance has not been good. We did get 4 new members, which was wonderful, but we also lost some of our older members. Last year, I know a joke was made that lost cemetery committee. Well, these ones really did pass away. And they are missed. Between the heat, the rain, we did not get as much done as we had hoped. A lot of the meetings we postponed for another week, hoping more people would show up. No one showed up. Mr. Gale, you said you would be at the last one. We got the email, and you weren't here.
You've had them on a couple of nights that I've had other things happening, unfortunately.
Okay, I'll let you get away with that one then. Our Adopt a Cemetery program, very, very successful this year. We ran an ad again in the Smart Shopper for 2 weeks. Numerous calls on it. A lot of them were summer residents that were very interested in taking on 2 or 3 up around by where they live. And we just said, go for it. You know, all the help we could get was greatly appreciated. We, last year we had the big project of the cemetery on the Hamilton Road. This year it was more smaller projects. A lot of the cemeteries that were way back out in the woods that no one had seen in years and years and years. Russ Jensen, as a matter of fact, is still working on the one on the Hamilton Road. He's still battling the poison ivy. He's been in 2 or 3 times this year to spray. It just does not want to die. It does not want to go away. But we're still working on it. We are also, I should say I am, trying to get replacement stones for a lot of the veteran stones that are beyond repair. Not an easy task. They want so much information. Birth dates, death dates, proof that they served in the wars. And I'm running into a lot of problems trying to do that. Still working on it. I have asked the members of the committee, any cemeteries that they work in this year, if they find a veteran stone that is really in bad shape, cannot be repaired, to contact me and let me know. And then I'm going to get more paperwork started to turn into the Veterans Administration to get those stones. We had also had thoughts of some of the cemeteries. The stones are really bad, not veterans, and we spoke to the lady who owns the Autumn Green Funeral Home. Mm-hmm. She has been willing to offer to us the small markers, temporary markers that we can put all the information on, permanently seal it, and place it where that stone is so that we can, the information is going to be there for anybody who needs it. That, like I said, with the meetings, not too many people showing up, has been a rough project this year too. Last year we had the issue of our inventory disappeared. Somehow it all came back. I don't know where it all came from, but thank you. We even have a few extras that we didn't have before. Mr. Littlefield over there said he had some older tape measures he was going to donate. I didn't see those down there. Okay.
We'll write that down.
1 or 2 would be good. Be really, really good. As far as, like I said, the Adopt a Cemetery program, I've had a lot of people, a lot of our new members that we have this year came from those, seeing those ads in the paper. And I have been asked to go ahead and do it again. So I think I will do that end of the summer roundup. See if we can get some more of our summer residents that would want to take on a few up that way. And the last thing that I have, over the last month, I have been getting numerous phone calls. People who want to know which plots are empty in the cemeteries so that they could buy them. That's not me. I was like, I don't know. Someone here is actually giving them my number and telling them that I'm the person they need to speak to. So.
From town hall, you mean?
Yeah, they called here for information and they're giving them my phone number. Mm-hmm. And they're calling to see if this plot's available or if that one's available. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. You know, and just tell them to call back the town hall again and ask for the right person. So.
I'm sure our town administrator will get that message out to staff.
Well, the first one, it just kind of threw me away. I was like, what? Well, we'd like to be buried here, so we want to know if that one's available. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I deal with them when they're gone, and you know, you've been there for 100 years or more, but I don't know. So, yeah, so I just had them call back and let them know that I couldn't help them. But the calls did continue. So, in fact, I just got one again about 3 days ago. So,
If you get another one, would you let me know, please? No.
I will. Like I said, it just kind of floors me because I don't know anything about that.
Do you have a list, do we have a list of the names of all the custodians, cemetery custodians in here?
I don't know the answer to that. Christine's nodding her head yes, so evidently we do, yep.
And that's about it. I mean, if there's any questions or anything, I mean, I just, very, very slow year. Yes.
Now, is the committee responsible for mowing those also? Who takes care of that?
The majority of them, yes. The mowing, cutting down of trees, small trees. We did a few up on West Road this year that had a lot of smaller pine trees growing up in it, and we cut those down. I did take some of the money and I bought a battery-operated weed whacker. We only had the one trimmer, and Russ, I know, usually uses that one all the time. The battery-operated one seems to be good for hauling way back out into the woods. It's not as heavy. And I'm finding that a lot of the girls are having a much easier time with the battery-operated one than the big, heavy gas-operated one. We did run. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is that it's been brought to my attention that the Things Cemetery just off the Mill Road on the old Things Mills Road
Yep.
has not been mowed. And I
Okay.
was wondering if it had been.
It's
forgotten.
probably one of those that has not been adopted. We have a lot of them that we as members ourselves try to get out and take care of them.
I thought it was a policy. Who mows the old cemetery? Somebody mows the old cemeteries on a regular basis.
I mean, there's a whole
There
bunch of
are a
old cemeteries that are
few.
overgrown.
Yeah, there are a few of the cemeteries that Russ Jensen takes care of. The rest of them are left up to the members or anybody who answers the Adopt a Cemetery program and wants to take on one of those cemeteries.
So who does Russ Jensen work for?
He's
The
a
town.
volunteer for the cemetery committee.
No,
He's a paid employee.
he's a
He is,
paid
okay.
employee.
Town of Waterboro,
Yeah,
allegedly under the heading of the cemetery.
right. And he has, I mean, he takes care of the one out back here. He takes care of the memorial stone there. There's one or two others that are on his list that he takes care of.
Well, I'd like to find out what ones he does mow, if we can find it out.
Russ can, yeah, he can let you know which ones are on his list that he mows regularly. Like I said, we did have, with maybe 6 people on the committee, it's just impossible for us to get to them all.
Is ROTC not active anymore with the cemetery committee?
They cannot get anybody to even volunteer anymore. So senior chief has not even bothered. The last 2 years, he's put up the sign-up sheets and no one. I was to the point of calling the sheriff's department to see if I could get people from there to help. Matter of fact, that was on our next, we have a meeting next week that's on there to see if I can get a hold of them and help, because it's more than what we can take care of. When the majority of the meetings has only been my daughter and myself show up, and that's it. She shows up because I make her. She comes with me in the car. Russ has been showing up, which is good. The last meeting, we actually had 5 people show up. I was just overwhelmed. There was that many there. So we're hoping, to get out, get some more done. I know summers are hard with people on vacations,
And
traveling.
that's when basically the cemetery committee
Right.
is.
I mean, because we don't go when there's 6 feet of snow. You can't do anything.
Sharon,
Yeah.
does the high school still have community service requirements?
They do.
Yes, they do. I have put up a poster.
You can't have
I have-
power tools to
A lot
Sure.
more?
Yeah, no, we
No.
have,
No.
yeah, battery operated weed whackers.
dangerous.
Dangerous enough, yeah.
It's still a dangerous.
It's hard, but I mean, if we can get them in there to even just to rake, with a handsaw, bow saw, cut down some of the smaller trees. The bigger stuff, I have, my brother-in-law, who is a member of the committee, comes in and cuts them down. But nothing yet.
Well, every we're always putting out pleas. And cemetery committee is not the only committee
Oh,
that
I know,
unfortunately
I
is
know.
lacking membership. And,
Yeah,
you know, we're always putting out the plea for more.
yeah.
But it's a great opportunity when we have the committees that come in and do their reports to us, for you to say, hey, we need members, and here's kind of the things that
Right.
we've got going on, so that
Right.
maybe it'll tickle the interest of somebody that's watching, to say, you know, we have these cemeteries, they need to be cared
And
for.
they need to be cared for,
We need-
exactly. Nothing against today's teens, but I'm finding that a lot of them just are not interested in the old cemeteries. Not like I was when I was growing up. My daughter, I mean, she's been that way since she was 10. Just sitting there all day long if she wanted to. I'm having a hard time finding young people to step up and say, oh, we'll help. I mean, we were very disappointed when Senior Chief said that he wasn't even going to bother asking the ROTC kids anymore, because nobody will, nobody wants to. My son is on the ROTC squad. He's the only one that signed up, the only one. You know, it's kind of disappointing, but I mean, short of going in and dragging them out by their ears and saying, look, you know, you live here. You know, some of these are your relatives. Help. You know, they just don't care. They'd rather do their community service hours doing something more fun.
So, cemetery committee needs more members.
We do need more active members.
Active
I mean,
members.
we do have quite a few members. They just, nobody shows up. Nobody answers emails.
And your next meeting is?
Tuesday night? Monday night. When is it? Tuesday night.
Monday.
Monday. Thank you.
So
Been a
next
long
Monday
week.
night at
7 o'clock.
7.
The
in
old
other
town
shop.
hall. Yep.
So anybody that's interested in just
Please.
learning about the cemetery
Please,
committee,
yeah.
they could attend the
Yeah.
meeting next week.
Yep. Every time I put an ad in the Smart Shopper, I make sure that, you know, the meetings are listed. Anybody's welcome to come in and help. Just sit in and discuss, you know, if they have any ideas.
And another thing I would recommend, I was just looking, the cemetery committee does have a page on the town website.
Yes.
You know, maybe get with David, and maybe there's some more information that can kind of go on the website, a blurb about what the committee does and what your function is, so that as people are
Right.
exploring it, maybe there's something that.
Well, see, that's something too that my daughter and I have been doing, because we are going around and we're documenting every cemetery.
And those.
There is a link on there, and so far we've got almost half of the cemeteries have been documented and pictures put up on the website.
Yeah, a lot of pictures. Are just,
So it's just, I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of help. People that, even if they just want to go out and photograph and document, would be a big help. Again, it's getting people interested in doing it. And summer is a hard time,
Yep.
you know.
Well, we'll continue to put the plug
Thank
out
you.
for more members, and hopefully, you know, we'll have somebody that'll come forward.
Thank you very
with some
much.
interest.
I'll be there.
Oh, yeah, I'm watching that. You gotta be.
Thank you.
That's why I said it on camera.
Well, I saved the email, but that didn't do any good either.
Next on the agenda, Parks and Rec Director to discuss the bandstand. Mikey D.
Yes, thank you.
Mr.
Miss Chairman.
Florida.
Yes. Well, as you know, we had a bandstand / grandstand down at Friendship Park that we took down this year. It was very old, and we tried to fund that, but we thought it best to maybe wait a year to see how we were doing financially. And I've been approached by members of Patco Construction Company, who do a community service project every year, somewhere out in the district, somewhere out in the county, I should say. And last year they did a trail project for a local community, a big project. They have the entire staff come out and they bang out something in one day, basically. And they asked me if there was anything that we might need. And I said, you know, we just had a grandstand down at the ballpark that we used to have bands play on. And I think at one time we showed a movie or two down there as well. So long story short, it looks like they're going to do that for us, and they want to get it done hopefully before the snow falls. I had a meeting down there today with them. They think they're going to be able to fund the whole entire thing for us. So we're pretty excited about it. I saw plans for the job today. I met with Steve Bork, who works for them. Very nice person. We went down to the site today, and he actually staked off 16 by 10 area. He wants to build it bigger if he can get it funded bigger. And we took all the electrical panel off the stand when we took it down last month, and we saved all of that stuff and took the breakers out of the panel box inside the pump house. So we've got everything ready to go back in place if we can get this done. Spoke with Gary a little bit about it last couple of weeks. Mentioned it to Mark today. Patco's at the step where they're ready to call DigSafe and have them look at the site. Shouldn't be a problem. We've got a grandstand or stuff going down there already. I think DigSafe was already down there when Doug did his culvert project, probably at the beginning of last year as well. So it's advancing fairly quickly here, and I just thought I'd let you know if you had any questions that it's something that we're excited about and looking forward to.
Great. Any questions for Mike?
Good news.
If you want, back to the cemetery gig, tell me to cut it, I'll go cut it, you know. Give me 5 or 10 of them, we'll get them done right away, no problem. We used to do it, first year on the job, we had cemeteries under the department heading. That went away with the volunteer committee, and it's tough. You've got volunteers managing staff. I think there's some safety issues in there that I would be concerned about. Russ is a very good worker, I wouldn't worry about him. He's been doing it a long time, does a nice job. But there's a lot of work there, you know. Mike's managing 15, 16 acres for me, and Russ, just that cemetery is tough. David, you know, you get the weed whacker out, your arms fall off before you turn the thing off. So it is just, it's a huge project. I'd like to come to that Monday meeting, John, and offer whatever I can. So why don't we just leave it at that? Don't put that on film, David, but I will attend that Monday cemetery committee meeting, and if there's some immediate needs before then, we'll get to them. We're in the process of painting the salt shed that we funded last year. We got most of it done. We're renting staging this week so we can do the soffit and fascia boards by the end of the week. We got a great price on that. Somebody basically gave us staging, $20 a day. So we're getting a lot of stuff done construction-wise right now. We've got a fence project to do too. But grandstand, first gig, want to get it done. DigSafe will be out, and I'll keep you posted.
Great.
Okay?
Most of those old cemeteries, one time a year, you know, with weed whacker and some
Yeah.
clippers and stuff,
Yeah.
gets it in a small hand saw or something like that.
Right,
You,
right.
you know, once a year it gets, but
Yeah,
some
like-
of them that haven't been done for 8 or 9 years,
Right.
it's a serious amount of work.
Yeah,
the first time in.
think you mentioned what is it, Things Mills? Yeah, I can't picture it. Off Middle Road?
Yeah, it's just off Middle Road. I think it's the old Things Mills Road. I can't remember. It used to be the Things Mills Road, and it used to be the Middle Road. And when we changed it, it became the old Middle Road, maybe? I don't know what
If you,
It's the dirt road that goes down there?
it is. Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah, it's named the old middle road now, yeah.
okay.
if you want, I could call Russ and see where he's at.
I'll take a ride over.
Okay.
I just had a,
All right, you know where to find me. If there's anything we can do to keep up with it, certainly it's been the type of year where we can watch the grass grow. I mean, rain and then sun. It's been tough keeping stuff cut, you know. So we can help out with that if you need us to. Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Next, moving on, Selectmen's reports. We'll start down this end. Gordon?
I have nothing.
Dennis?
I'm all set.
John? David?
nothing.
I just want to mention that I got an email this week from a resident whose vehicle broke down in the area of the fire station over the weekend. The vehicle overheated, and they pulled into the fire station, and Mike Frazier went out and gave them a hand, put some coolant in their vehicle, and said, you know, it's just kind of doing it to help out, public service. The folks offered to pay for the coolant or whatnot, but the car owners were very appreciative of that, and I think that, you know, it's great that Mike went out and lended a hand. So, you know, those are the nice, positive things that you like to hear. So kudos to Mike Frazier for, you know, taking a few minutes and helping somebody out. it was very much appreciated. So, good job, Mike. Town Administrator's report.
Thank you. Several things here. Met recently with Nancy Johnson to help prepare poverty abatement that you folks are going to deal with a week from tonight. And met with the EMA Director, Leo Rogers. There's a variety of training exercises that some of them will be countywide that Matt, and to a lesser extent myself, might participate in briefly this fall. And the public should know that on Thursday the 29th, the Board of Selectmen voted to award the CDBG water project line to DNC Construction of Rockland, Mass. And they also have a Waterboro office here for $382,295. And the day after that, we had a very well-attended pre-construction meeting. All the relevant parties were there to sign documents, go through mandatory checklists. Doug Foglio made a good suggestion to route traffic onto, is it Victory Circle or Victory Lane? Lane? Anyway, so that the westbound Route 5 traffic during construction, which is this Friday through October 23rd, will be shot up onto Victory and won't have to be held up as much as if it was single lane traffic, which is what it will be quite a bit of the time. Finished paving for this project needs to be done by October 15th. If that can't happen, they can do it in the spring with some base paving this fall. The public should know that, like Tammy Jo said, construction actually starts this Friday and can go as late as October 23rd. 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. is a construction window. So if you're coming through during those times, Monday through Friday, just go around. That'd be easier on everybody. We are going to do a code red robocall. Matt and I did the message today so that everybody, pretty much everybody in town will get a phone call, probably tomorrow or Thursday, with just an FYI on this project. There's some new DEP interest, or not interest, but some follow-up work, I guess, on the Patent Leather Lagoon site out by the Public Works Garage. That meeting date was actually, a site visit was actually firmed up today for this Friday at 10 a.m. Doug Foglio will be there, Owens McCullough will be there, myself, 2 people from DEP, and 1 from another engineering firm that's hired by DEP. They all know that we want to possibly put a sand salt shed over the site to cap it, and they like that idea from what I've learned so far. I reached out to the H.D. Goodall administration because some concerns had been raised about whether or not the hospital complex here in Waterboro was going to remain, since H.D. Goodall Hospital was merging with Southern Maine Medical. And I was assured by their facilities director that it's still going to remain a medical facility. The project was permitted for 4 total buildings. We have, I think, 1 there now. So the fears were allayed in terms of that facility changing into something else just because of the consolidation. Spent an hour talking with the school board member Lisa Faith. I'm going to go to a school board member meeting September 11th to meet others on the board. I haven't done that yet. And when Lee Burnett was here a couple of weeks ago now, I guess, he still does have $7,000 that could be spent in town here on a multi-use trail program. If anybody knows of a snowmobile or ATV trail that has a drainage issue, a conflict of usage, and needs some construction, let me know, because up to $7,000 could be available to fix something like that this fall. Just bring that to the public and the board's attention. And thank you, that's it from me.
Okay. Moving on to new business, discuss vote on a proposed social media policy. This was something that was brought forward by Selectmen Littlefield. And so, Gordon, why don't you talk about the policy that you've written?
As I said earlier, when we were talking about this, it's basically a hybrid of several policies from around the country. I extrapolated from those policies, those areas which I felt were germane to the town of Waterboro and what we were hoping to accomplish. And most of you should have gotten an email today where I cleared up some grammatical problems with the second draft. The latest one is called, obviously, the third draft. And basically, it's a policy that provides guidance for employees use of social media, both within the town, and it also to some degree has some guidelines for use of social media on their own private computers, and it outlines those areas where information should not be disseminated on their own if it reflects on the town, or if the person posting it is readily recognizable as an employee of the town, so that their opinion, if someone were reading it, someone might think that is also the opinion of the town. And that is something that hopefully we can keep away from, so that we don't end up in a situation similar to what's recently been in the news with the town of Sabattis. Most recently, there have been, other isolated incidents around dealing with social media, and it poses a number of, other problems for the municipality as well, in terms of liability and the ability of the town to control information and how it goes out, because there are some things that are protected by statute, and if they're inadvertently mentioned on a blog or Facebook or some type of social media, Twitter or something like that, then it negates the town's ability to say that that's privileged information, because that person has then made it public. May open some doors there that we potentially want to leave closed, because we don't want to get into costly litigation. So basically, that's what the policy tries to do, and at the same time keeps intact the constitutional provisions that each and every citizen has to free speech. So we didn't want to infringe on that at all. Just we didn't want the town branded negatively with the impact of things that were released on social media.
Any questions for Gordon? Comments?
There's a lot of legal things here, the whole free speech versus things that a person may say that embarrasses the town. And the difference between an employee and a volunteer. And one way, if you have the free speech rights that a person might invoke and say something that's embarrassing to the town, and if they're an employee, it may have a different impact on that person because of their employment. But then if you're a volunteer and you say, we don't wish to have you representing us on this committee because of the embarrassing statements you've said on the internet, it's complicated, but it seems what I've read here that it indicates that we can, if something is embarrassing to us as far as racial slurs and things like that, that we can take action and ask for a person's resignation or is that true? Basically,
Yes, basically.
Did I take that up, right?
There's a list of different things, and I don't think that anybody, that's the average citizen would have any real problem with the things that I'm talking about here. And they're things that are defamatory, pornographic, libelous, discriminatory, demeaning, obscene, threatening, those types of things. Anything having to do with hate speech that is directed towards race, color, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, ethnicity, age, religion, or disability, all things that are protected, by law now. I think that just common sense would tell you that you shouldn't be communicating threats against the president, but apparently somebody, just doesn't exercise common sense from time to time. And, there are implications, for that. And we just don't want to become embroiled in that type of, controversy. If we let it be known up front what our policy is, and have this disseminated to all the committee members and employees of the town.
So are we ready to act on this? Is this,
Well, let's see if there's any other comments first.
I think the town administrator, whom I have not had a chance to really sit down with and discuss this, has some concerns that he briefly showed me as to wording and stuff like that. So it may be that I should have a session with him, prior to, unless you want to iron out all his concerns right now.
Well, let's start down. David, did you have any questions, concerns, comments?
No, not one. I just think we have so many laws and rules and everything else. You can't break wind unless you offend somebody. But I guess on the other hand, we have to cover our own situation, So, but somewhere there's a happy medium here. This is, I've looked at it. I mean, it seems general enough, but I just don't like these things.
Dennis?
Have we had a legal review?
No.
No.
So I guess we're a ways away from acting on it, I guess, at this point, right?
Yeah.
Gary?
On the second page, I had something I wanted the whole board to talk about. Gordon and I sat once on this, and we need to, I think, sit again. I appreciate that. But on the third, I call it paragraph from the bottom, and that paragraph starts with the words, social media use shouldn't interfere. On the tail end of that, I wonder if we ought to tighten that up a little so that an employee reads that and knows that during work time, thou shalt not do A, B, and C. Right now it says, but personal use of social media networks, etc., is discouraged and could result in disciplinary action. To me, that's a little fuzzy, and I like things to be black and white when it comes time to tell staff whether you can or cannot do something during work time.
will be, in other words, rather than shall?
Shall not be allowed.
Yeah.
But Gordon and I can talk about that. That was the biggest question mark I had. And then on that same page, up under the heading of FOIA requirements, which would be the actual second sentence, the sentence reads, voluntary disclosure of information through a social media platform. And I had a question mark in there whether it should say voluntary disclosure of confidential information. Something to discuss, I guess, rather than...
That particular paragraph was taken from I think the U.S. Department of Justice website or Department of Environmental Protection website. It was off a federal site anyway, and it's basically word for word on that. But I don't think that the inclusion of the word confidential would have any negative impact on the message that this particular paragraph was trying to convey anyway. It would probably, if anything, maybe enhance it a little more.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. So Gary and Gordon are still going to get together and work on this some more.
Yeah, on the issue of, if I understand his statement correctly, was that you didn't want employees to be able to use any type of social media whatsoever while they're working?
Well, the most important part of any ordinance is a definition section, and at the top you list 8 or 9 different things that are defined as social media, and that's the fine line I guess we need to be very careful on. I mean, I'm a member of a listserv for town managers, and there's a lot of good information on there. You put out a question, you can get several responses over the next hour or day that can shorten your workload. I guess I might call that almost an electronic newsletter or an online forum. So,
and the purpose of this, when I was doing the research on it, one of the elements that was most mentioned was that you ought to have your policy written in such a way that it doesn't prohibit your employees or your staff from using these types of things, but just to kind of control what types of information. Now, I'm sure that when you're discussing things with other town managers, then you're not releasing sensitive information,
Right.
regarding, the inner workings of the municipality. And I think that that's all that it's trying to say. It doesn't say that you can't use these things, because it would certainly take away a valuable tool that you have at your disposal. And the same thing applies to Facebook, because I know that the fire department releases, a lot of public relations stuff and informational stuff through the use of Facebook, as does, I believe, Parks and Rec. They have no Facebook presence, okay. But, there are other entities that, that have a presence on Facebook that, to work for the betterment of the community.
I'm Lindsay Gifford Skilling. For 5 generations.
Now a word from our sponsor, I guess.
And I've been talking to Dave about possible Facebook usage for the town, but he's adamant in doing his job and saying one way only for security purposes. So we've been talking about that.
So it sounds like you two are gonna get together and
Sure.
discuss more.
Yep.
All right.
And would it be safe to say that once we arrive at a consensus, that we can forward it to the, for legal review before we bring it back? Or would you like to come have it brought back before us, before we submit it to legal review?
I'm good with it going to legal first and have everything tied up with a bow.
Yeah.
John's shaking his head. David, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so just, we'll put it on the parking lot list and
Okay.
next is discuss vote to move forward with the forest management plan. So we've had a couple presentations now. We've had a workshop with committees coming in to discuss a forest management plan off of Bennett Hill Road. Is there any discussion or motion from the board on what we'd like to do with this?
What would you like in the motion? Have we gotten to the point of talking of accepting the plan, or is a time schedule going to be, should be attached to that as far as?
Well, the consensus seemed to be from the board. I mean, we've taken no official votes on this yet, but the consensus was that we want to move forward with a forest management plan. We had a couple different options put in front of us. We could do it in one fell swoop, or we could do it out over a course of time, 3, 4, 5 years. So I think that we were at a point where we just needed to say, we're going to do this, we're going to move forward with the forest management plan, here's what our timeline's going to be. We're either going to do it in a year, we're going to do it 3, 5 years.
Okay, it seemed to me, when we were talking about it, that there might have been a little bit of a leaning toward doing it all in one piece.
Mm-hmm.
So I will move that we accept the forest management plan, and that it would be done within a year.
Just a point of clarification, I think you're not accepting the plan, you would be approving a harvest. The plan is already, it is what it is, it's a reference
Right.
document, so that was my take. You needed to approve a harvest.
Approval.
A harvest,
Yep.
timber harvest.
Okay. Isn't the timber harvest mentioned in the plan?
Yes.
So,
Reference.
okay, the timber harvest would be complete within a year. That would
So,
be the motion.
so you're making a motion that we move forward with a timber harvest being done within 1 year.
Within 1 year.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion, but
Discussion?
that wasn't my take on it, was that it had to be completed within a year. It was that we will do it all in the first year of its implementation, rather than incrementally over a period of 4 or 5 years. It may be that it takes them 14 months to complete the harvest, but they're doing it in one fell swoop, doing it one time instead of 3 or 4 times. Now, was my understanding correct in that, or?
Well, if it takes them 14 months, then they ought to be retired.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think he was-
John be a drag.
I think he was talking about it was going to be that they would have it done this fall. If we
Yeah.
said yes to having this timber done, and we wanted to do it all at once, that it would be one season and it would be done.
That was my understanding.
Well, yeah, that's my understanding too, that it was one season. It wasn't specifically defined that they would have it done within set parameters.
But this is just a little over 100 acres, so that shouldn't be a challenge for them to do it in
Right.
a few months.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah. I just want to make sure we're clear.
Any other discussion? So all of those in favor of the motion? Okay. Next on the agenda is discuss the consent agreement. We received from Attorney Danilick the proposed consent agreement from the Machado property. Gary did forward it on to Natalie Burns for legal review. And what Natalie has suggested is that we have an initial discussion on if we want to take any action, look at moving forward with this consent decree, or decide we're not going to do anything with it. And then if we are interested in moving forward, then having a public hearing where we would take public comment on this consent decree. Now that changes things a bit from the way that we've normally done consent agreements, and that we haven't had public comment before, or had a public hearing per se. But apparently there's been some case law that says that that is the better, more responsible thing for us to do at this point. So what's the board's initial blush at this consent agreement?
I'd like to have a synopsis of why is this consent agreement here? I mean, what is the issue? I've read it, and I still don't quite understand why we have to go through this.
Yep. The issue was that it was property that was split, and a lot was built, or a structure, a home was built on this lot, this piece of split lot, after the town gave them a building permit. Then they came back in to get a second building permit to put on an in-law suite, and they were giving the building permit and the occupancy permit. And then when it all shakes down, it turns out that there's not enough property there for them to have the structure and the in-law apartment. That was never caught when the town issued the building permits. So now the property owner is coming to us and saying that they would like to have a consent agreement with us where we know that the property is in violation of the codes, but because the town issued the building permits and the occupancy permits, they would like the town to approve a consent agreement.
And this is because they might wish to sell that property and for it to go through a bank?
Well, they're not looking at, they haven't mentioned anything about selling in these when they've come forward.
So I'm
with
just
us.
wondering what brought it up, if there was no issue coming forward that...
And that I don't know, and I don't know, Gary, if you have more information of what kind of brought this to a head.
I've heard conversations of a sale, but I haven't heard that right from them. It's been indirect.
My concern is usually when we get to a point where there's a consent agreement that we entertain, there is no other alternative. So I guess, have they exhausted all the other alternatives? Is there more land that they can procure? I mean, that's really the bottom line is this is all that can be done, and the only way that you can resolve it is with a consent order. And we've had people in developments change lot lines, right, in the past, so that they're in compliance, right? They give up a little land and they take a little land, right, so that the lot line. So, and we've had issues where it couldn't be changed, and we've issued consent orders. So, I'm a little bit with David in that I think there's still some unanswered questions here of what are we really walking into? I understand that, yes, the code office here is a bit culpable in the fact that we've issued permits, but what did we issue a permit? What knowledge did we have when we issued the permits? I mean, one CEO removed from all of this activity. So that's my concern is, before we march down the road of, hey, let's go through this exercise and have a public hearing and everything, have we exhausted all the, have they exhausted all their opportunities for other relief?
And I think that they expressed in the meeting here that no, they haven't, that there is an opportunity for them to purchase land. Gordon?
Yeah, I think that their argument was that the alleged cost of purchasing the property was essentially financially prohibitive because the figure, the alleged figure, was set so high that it was well outside any realm of marketable, possibility. It seemed like to them it was more rather than fair market value. It had a more of a punitive tone to it.
But that being said, we'd at least like to see what that is, right?
Yeah, I'd like to see what that is,
I mean,
Obviously,
it's nice to come in and say, well, yeah, it's just cost prohibitive. What is it, right? I mean, is there an offer on the table? Is there, X, Y, Z? So.
You know, Thorntons are here for this purpose, right?
Yes.
And
I'll
it seemed
give
to me,
them an opportunity to-
it seemed to me that we have a letter here with fair market value mentioned in the letter. So,
Right.
So that it shouldn't be something that would be too debatable if you have the fair market value can be done by an independent person and say, okay, this amount of land is needed in order to have that property in compliance with the and that amount of property and fair market value would be this amount of money. And then if the offer's there at that and it's turned down, then we may, it tells us something too.
Mr. Thornton, I said I'd give you an opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Again, I'm Chuck Thornton, and I'm here to speak on the proposed consent decree your board may be considering with Anthony Machado, which I strongly oppose. I realize Attorney Danlick has given all of you what he thinks is proper and right for his client. However, I feel that since we prevailed in the recent court case against Nancy Thornton, that's Machado's mother-in-law, who's living on the property, that Attorney Danlick, who lost that court case, is here with Machado to try to settle the score. That's my thoughts. Anthony Machado is like a kid, always running around the property with a video camera.
So, because he's not here to be heard as well, I'd like to keep kind of the personalities out of it. If there's something factual that you'd like to give us information on for the property, such as you have property that you're willing to sell at fair market value,
yes,
that's the kind of information that we would like to hear, but I would prefer to keep any opinions about the parties involved.
Well, I hope that was true on the last meeting that you had. I was not aware that he was going to be addressing the consent issue. Had I been aware of it, I would have been at the meeting here. I learned about it the next day.
Yeah, it has been on our agendas, which get public, but we did get letters from you, so
Yes, you
we've
did.
had communication from you.
But I didn't have the opportunity to rebut what he said, Danlick said about the property being prohibitive, expensive, and this, and that, and the other. But if Machado wants land or he needs land, I have ample property for sale adjacent to his property, butts right onto his property, and at a fair market price. And I'm basing this on the land right across the street, the corner market, and what they paid for the property there. And this would bring up his land to a 40,000 square foot, be one family property. If he has to go to 80,000 square feet, I don't have the property to sell that.
So you're willing to work with him potentially to bring his property into compliance?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely.
Now, and in this process, it seems like you've had a little bit of bad blood. So I'm wondering if you had a mediator of sorts that he knows how much property he needs, and that mediator can go to you and say, do you have this amount of property? And then setting a fair market value so that the two of you aren't possibly going head to head and causing an impasse.
Yes, for your information, I've never had any problem with Machado. Never. In fact, I paid for 90% of the house that he built on that property.
Okay, that
And-
being the case, then we should be able to maybe we can come upon a solution here.
Certainly. I'm willing to work with him on it. But the thing is, they got kind of upset when his mother-in-law, and I probably shouldn't say this, but she stole my property, and the court made her deed it back to me. And in the term when she had the property, she deeded this to Machado, the 110 feet by 227 feet.
I think, you've done a good job in your letters to us kind of explaining there's a lot of dynamics that go along with these properties. So I think you've done a very good job in the correspondence that you've sent us kind of laying out what the issues have been. So I know for my benefit, it's been helpful having it kind of in writing so you can digest it.
Yes. But as I say, I'm willing to sell the property, enough property, so that they'll have the 40,000 square feet needed to be for the one family dwelling.
Okay.
And, but I would want the property surveyed, and a 6-foot high chain link fence put between our properties.
And that's something that the town couldn't get involved in. That would have to be an agreement
Well,
between,
that's-
as a part of the sale or whatnot.
Yeah.
So the town's piece in this would be if we're interested in agreeing to the consent agreement that's been proposed. We have not committed one way or the other to that. What I'm getting from the board tonight is that there are other options, and if there are other options, I think the board is probably more interested in sending this back to the attorney and saying, until we know that there are no other options, all options have been exhausted, we're not interested. So there would be no further action that we would need to take at this point. Am I reading you all right, Dennis, Gordon?
Yeah.
I think they've got to present at least the case that, hey, we have run the course of all of our options, and we're at an impasse. This is the final request. So
Gary?
I had a question to Mr. Thornton. Do you own behind this property also, or is that a different?
No, I own to the old railroad track.
So if it didn't work out with you, then there's another abutter behind that they could potentially buy land from.
Well, yes, I suppose so. There's always,
Okay, just curious.
I don't know up in behind who owns it. I did at one time have an option on the land.
So I think at this point, Gary, could you communicate to Mr. Danilick that we would need to see that all of their options have been exhausted before we would be interested in entertaining anything further?
Okay.
If they could explain also, because I think I'm with David on this, is what perpetuated this request to begin with? I mean, this is not something that we were aware of by any means. It was only brought forth because they wanted a consent agreement. Is there something, is there another dynamic that we don't know about going on? I know from your communications that you've sent us, Mr. Thornton, that apparently there's some issue, I guess, with the boundary, because you're saying that he keeps moving the boundary lines.
Yes, he does.
At will, and then he's called the sheriff's department on you?
He called the sheriff department on me. He had my son arrested because we weren't even on his property. We were on our own property. But I went there with the people from the Alfred Fence Company. It's over by Nell's Garage, you know.
Stones. Yeah, Stones.
And Stone's Fence, yes. And my attorney advised me to put a fence up between our properties. And Machado, I don't believe, knew about that unless he got it through Dan, like. And so we went there to measure for the fence, and Machado ordered us off the property, which I thought that was kind of strange because we'd never had any problem with him whatsoever. So we went off the property, and the next thing I knew, the sheriff was at my house, and he told me that I had to stay off the property, of which I have done. I haven't been near the property. And but he claimed he owned right up to my commercial building, of which it gave me question because, as I understood, we had to have a 20-foot buffer between his lot and my commercial building. So I began to look into the size of the lot that he had. In looking, I came up and talked with Mr. Mitchell up here about the lot size and the setbacks and everything, and he doesn't meet any of them. The setbacks, he has his storage buildings, and I noticed he's moved some of the stuff around and moving his lot lines around, which is not right by me. If I had, when I built my buildings, I had to maintain the square footage. I had to have my setbacks properly, and I don't see why he shouldn't have the same thing. I'm not trying to punish a guy, but he should.
I can see now how this whole thing came about,
Yeah.
why he wanted it now, yeah.
And of course, I don't want to get in trouble, so I stay away from the property so I won't get in trouble. And
Well, I think we have a course of action outlined where at this point we're not going to entertain the consent agreement, so the ball is in their court now.
good.
And I'm sure if there's any other information that comes about, if we do have a public hearing, you'll know about it,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, I wish I had known about the other meeting. I would have been here. But I learned about it the next day, so.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we got all your correspondence, and, that was helpful because at least it gave you a voice as we've kind of gone through this process.
Okay, we thank you,
Thank you.
very much. And as I say, we're still battling with the Machados and Nancy Thornton. My son has a lawsuit right against him now with Dan like again.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully everything gets resolved and peacefully.
I hope so too. And I thank you.
Thank you for
Is that all
coming.
you need me for?
I think so.
For now.
Thank you, thank
Yep.
you.
Okay. All right, so you'll take care of it. That's the same. Moving on, next under new business is discuss auctioning of property. Did everybody get this list, Christina? Okay, so Christina, we have a list that came from Christina that Jerry put together, and it's a list of all of the properties that are owned by the town, and there's 90 some odd properties through here, and I think if you look at,
Christina did that work, not William.
did I say you? Oh, no, Christina. So there's 90 some odd properties, and I mean, as you start looking through these, you'll see that a lot of them are land properties and a lot of them are Lake Arrowhead properties.
And fire department and.
Yeah, and some of the other town holdings. So,
The dilemma, okay, in my mind is that I'm not sure that this is all of them. Because there's 95 lots that we acquired through the settlement in the Lake Arrowhead early days that were considered swap pool lots. I believe the town still retains ownership of those. Not sure why they're not on here. So that might need a little research.
When did that happen? Part of what?
Oh, baby, that was way back in the 80s. Actually, before that. So.
I would like to suggest that we look at all the properties,
Right.
just property, and look out a little bit to the future. Is any of these we could use for recreational uses as parking or something like that?
yeah,
Part of the reason that this list exists, all right, there were at one point in time, because of the tax acquired ordinance, what's the word of it? Anyway, title of it. Tax acquired properties. That was very specific in that there had to be a meeting between the planning board, the conservation committee, and the board of selectmen to look at those tax acquired properties and determine if it was in the best interest of the town to retain those. And we haven't done that in years, okay? But that was done very frequently before. And the reason we haven't done it in years is because 90% of everything that comes onto the list are Lake Arrowhead properties, okay? But you'll find that there's properties up at Lake Sherburne that are maybe across not on the main drag or on the water side of the road. They're on the opposite side of the road that were retained for potential parking lots, those kind of things. The issue is that this list with the 90, whatever it is, properties, some of those were gifted to the town, some of those the town purchased, some of them were acquired through the tax title property process and retained, or we were unable to sell them, right? Now, the list of liens that we were going forward to auction, they aren't on this list yet. So I guess the question is that outside of this list of the public auction, what additional lots have matured tax liens that aren't listed on either one of these lists?
I have a master list,
Okay.
and some of these, I've got all kinds of notes written on it, are either they've got a payment plan a current payment plan, or there's a bankruptcy involved, or they are making regular payments even though there isn't a signed agreement in place, but they have been, making an effort. So some of these, we didn't put on the auction list for the auction that's been postponed. But I do have the list that Nancy and Julie prepared that I want to say had some 40, maybe 40 properties.
So those are all of the matured tax lien properties that have not, on the books, we have not transferred those over under the town of Waterboro as property, but all legally being said, they are now the town of Waterboro's properties, correct?
Except for the ones with the bankruptcies, I'm not sure how
So,
that
so
plays into
there's,
it.
there's two issues here, and I think we should get all of the properties and look at it. That's gonna not happen overnight. In the same time, we have been 4 years now, without going forward to disperse of properties that have matured tax liens, at least 3. And some of these have got multiple years of tax liens. So somehow we gotta come to grips with, we need to move forward and at least get these lots disposed of and back on the tax rolls. And at the same time, look at all of this other stuff and what are we gonna do with that?
Well, I think the other part of that is, well, 2 things. Pam Whitman had at one point created some maps that had all of the properties that were owned by the town. And I remember us getting kind of a booklet of all the maps that had, now some of those properties ended up getting sold when we sent notice out to the Lake Arrowhead butters, and we sold several pieces, but then there were a large number that we didn't. So I think it would be helpful if we had all of that information on a map again, so that instead of looking at like the public auction properties have at least street addresses, these ones are just the map and the lot, so you don't really know.
So like a copy
where
of the
they
tax
are.
map that shows where that's located.
Right, so we know what's out there for property and where is it.
I'd like to see a spreadsheet that shows the property and then what its status is, whether it's matured lien, if it's in bankruptcy, if it's in.
So put the 2 lists together.
Yeah, so that we have everything on one sheet, so we're not shuffling sheets around to figure out, what's what.
And the other thing is, how did we acquire it?
Yeah, how do we acquire?
Because for years, we took property as gifts,
Yeah.
and those went to town meeting.
So you have properties with that are unbuildable.
Presumably.
And they may only be of interest to abutters, and so an auction may be most viable way of getting them off our rolls. Gary brought up something too. You may have some properties in there that are fairly saleable, and maybe we should go to and put them out in the market, not through auction, but sell them through a realtor. And then there's those that we're acquiring and we want to turn around very quickly. We don't feel would be more auctionable. So I'd see you putting those in batches. These are the ones we want to go to auction with. These are the ones we feel we want to go to a realtor with, and we may do better.
But I think we need that comprehensive list.
Yeah, so if we had Christina get this list together for us of all of the various properties, I think we're probably gonna need to get Christina some help to do that. Maybe something that Tina could help her with. But get this list together, get the maps together, and then let's plan on having a workshop, looking at all of the properties, looking at what our current ordinance is related to public auction, looking at properties that do have some substantial value if we were to sell them through a realtor as opposed to the auction process, which all we're asking for in the minimum bid in the auction process is the back owed taxes.
Yeah.
So.
And any lien fees.
Yeah, so we may have an opportunity here, and as we talk about economic development and we talk about the town moving forward perhaps in the future with a park or whatnot, maybe if we look at selling these properties for market value, that gives us some seed money to put towards economic development in the town without having to take it out of taxation.
Just looking at that list is about, if we did 11 by 17 maps of all the maps, the tax maps that we needed for that list, it'd be about 2 dozen maps.
Yeah.
So you could get that 11 by 17, we could color code all the ones on that map that are on that list. couple dozen sheets for you, but at least that'll give them visually where they are in town. And then the comprehensive list, which I know she can whip that out a lot faster than I can,
Yeah.
but.
And maybe where Tom has been working with the 2020 committee to get the GIS mapping done, maybe even that comes into
That's
play
down the
with
road.
this.
Yeah, we're not ready to do that
You
yet.
give me a list of the ones that are located within Lake Arrowhead. I do a lot of services up there, and I could, as I go by, I could do a snapshot of that particular property so that we could actually see what it looks like, what type of condition it's in, to be able to determine whether or not it's something we want to auction or if it's that saleable commodity.
It's gonna be
So-
hard for you to do most of those, Gordon, because 81 out of the 96 on that list are no buildings.
Or vacant lots.
Right. You won't have survey markers.
So I guess my put would be, we need to put some date on this.
Well, I was gonna
Okay.
get to that.
Like, let's get this done by X date.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Christina, what kind of a time frame would you need to get that together for the board?
I'm not sure how much time it's gonna take me to find, like, how it was acquired, if that's something maybe Jerry or Sharon or Tina can just look in a file and have it. So that might play into it, so just to be safe, maybe not next week, but the week after.
So how about if we said the 24th, we'll do a light agenda, we'll just do what needs to get done, and we'll have a workshop on properties. So I don't think we have anything really scheduled out for that yet, that date.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sounds all right to everybody? Dennis? Gordon?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. And I know you were here waiting to see what we were gonna do, so September 24th, we'll start having more in-depth discussion.
Yeah, that's not gonna move the auction to that time, right?
No,
Well,
no.
it'll be out
No.
further than
It'll
that.
be,
Yeah, because what my intention is to have it sold, I'm going to the SRCC meeting this month, and I'm going to the planning board to get a setback.
Mhm.
And I have a potential buyer that if it's buildable, they'll buy it.
Yeah.
And I'll pay everybody off. I've already made arrangements with Lake Arrowhead for them to get their money. So just to get everybody paid up,
Yep.
fairly and equitably, but I just need more time.
Yep.
So if I gave them a small amount, could I get myself off this list until I pay it off?
Not until it's
No,
paid off.
Whole thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You're going to the planning board to get a reduced setback, is that your
From the
goal?
road, not from the water.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
So that's at least 3 weeks out before we'll be discussing it again.
The planning board's the 14th, I think.
So, okay, any other questions of us?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, thanks.
So 14th, nothing happens as far as
Right,
the property is
That's
going
been-
forward with 5 meetings
Yep.
until then. Okay, thank you.
okay, you're welcome. Moving on to old business, discuss Economic Development Commission. We've had some discussions about needing to revamp the Economic Development Committee and getting them active again and getting membership. Dennis is going to be the liaison to that committee, so he's made a proposal to some changes. So Dennis?
Yeah, we made a proposal, and then I kind of, today sent in, I think there's a copy, we've got a hard copy. And Tammy Jo had a good point, she kind of fired back a note when the first one came out, that the charter does say that any boards and committees have to be registered voters and they have to be residents. So, knowing that there's probably some opportunity to bring some people into this committee that may not meet those obligations, kind of have worked this where, today it says that the committee's got to be 7 members and it's going to have 2 ex officio members, and that they have to come from diverse backgrounds and all this. So I think if we just went, the committee shall consist of no less than 5 or no more than 7 members appointed by the Board of Selectmen in accordance with the charter, not this charter, but the charter, which means that they have to be registered voters and they have to be residents, okay? And they should represent a diverse cross-section of the economic base. There shall also be, I took the non-voting now out, ex officio, because ex officio means non-voting anyway. Ex officio members, the Waterboro Town Planner, member of the Board of Selectmen, and a maximum of 2 members from the regional business community who may be non-residents.
So instead of Waterboro Business Community.
The regional. So we might branch out to look at somebody other than maybe a business person in Waterboro that might have influence on what's going on in Waterboro.
You could have a business owner in town that doesn't live in town.
Right.
So, that's good.
So that would be my proposal, to change the bylaws, and I think as this goes on, we probably need to restructure this as bylaws and create some form of, if it's gonna be a committee, there should be an ordinance that says this is what the committee does. And I know we did this kind of out of, to expedite it back in 2008, but at some point in time, we need to.
Well, I think all of our committees'
Yeah.
bylaws, we need to, that's one thing that needs to be.
Because there should be some bylaws for the committee, but the committee has to be created
Yeah.
as an entity in town by something, other than just.
So your proposed change is a change to the bylaws.
Right. Because that's all that exists today, is the bylaws, which are attached to
And
this.
those changes are not in conflict with the charter.
Well, that's why I changed it to say that the committee shall consist of no less than 5 or more than 7 members appointed by the Board of Selectmen in accordance with the charter,
Yeah.
okay? And if you go to the charter section, well, the charters, section 600 of the charter is very specific.
Oh, but I see under purpose and scope here, the purpose and scope is to establish set how the meeting, how the committee shall be run.
Right.
But what I don't see is the purpose and scope of why do you have the committee? What is the committee
I think
doing?
there was a mission statement that
Yeah.
probably doesn't need to change, but there is a mission statement for the EDC,
Okay,
okay?
and that's nice and
That's-
clear.
Yeah, I think
You know,
that's,
I find that's what keeps a committee going. If that is clear and they know exactly what they're there to do, that gives them purpose and reason for meeting at night. But if they lose that direction, then you lose the membership.
yeah, the EDC is not under Article 6 in the charter.
Okay.
However, the composition, which is section 601, last sentence says, members of boards shall be registered voters and residents of the town. And it talks about boards and committees, so probably the charter should have been maybe cleaned up a little bit too, but on the wording.
So how can we have 2 members from the Waterboro business community who may be non-residents?
They're non-voting. They're ex
They're ex
officio.
officio.
But that doesn't say whether they're voting members in the charter, it just says
It
member of a
says-
committee,
right.
right?
Well, I think those official members that would be official members are quote-unquote voting members. I think you can have as many ex officio members. I don't think that, because they're a non-voting member.
I'm just wondering how members defined, and am I overthinking this?
I think you're overthinking it, but that's only my.
Well, they'd have to be a registered voter of the town to be an official member,
Right.
correct?
Right, so they're ex officio members, they're not official members. They participate, it's like Tom is a member of that committee, but he's a non-resident and he's an employee,
Because he's an employee.
but he can't vote, he's an ex officio member.
This is another thing that could go on the charter change list that'll happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking
So
about
that would be my proposal,
Is
and
there
if you
any-
want, I'll clean it up, we'll put
Yeah,
it
if you would, we can
in
do it
and we'll vote on it next week.
Yeah, I think the premise is excellent.
Because I think we've got a couple members, now, there's a couple in the wings that, they wanna would join if it's a purposeful meeting, a purposeful committee, so.
So we'll have that as an agenda item. Okay. Moving on, would entertain a motion to sign the minutes of the August 27th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? And would entertain a motion to sign the minutes of the August 29th special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, pending decisions, we have discussed making policy changes relative to the use of social media. So we'll continue with Gordon and Gary working on that. Gary and David are still working on the Public Works Department.
There's more work to do in the job description arena of that.
Okay. The forest management plan is done, so we can take that off. And Gary or Christina, if you could reach out to Brian and let him know that we're going to move forward and take care of that getting done. Week's action list. Gary needs to communicate to Attorney Daniluk regarding the consent agreement. And Christina's going to work over the next couple of weeks on getting the mapping and the comprehensive list of the properties for a workshop on September 24th. Discussion of agenda items for next week. We'll have the EDC.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else for next week?
This isn't the workshop that we had set for the 12th. I know Gordon
Yeah, we need to
can't be there.
reschedule that.
And I'm wondering if
I got a couple of EcoMaine meetings that night too, so that happened. That'll run until 6.
if we can move that.
Yeah, so we'll look at rescheduling it. We'll just say we're not going to have it on the 12th, and we'll pick some dates next week that we can look at.
I'm not sure, and maybe this is just food for thought for Gary, and he can pass on to Matt. And I apologize for having a little slip with the thing, but I was looking for an article that Channel 6 tonight had a discussion on Scarborough and I think South Portland fire chiefs are saying we can't get volunteer firefighters anymore. Okay?
Big
Imagine
problem
that,
in a lot of towns.
right? They're part of the reasons that we can't get it, right? I mean, all these big town fire chiefs and the Fire Chiefs Association lobbied for years to get more and more legislation to require training to be increased and everything else for firefighters. So, you know, this is like what goes around comes around, right? Now, it might not have been them specifically, but, you know, there was a drive from the professional firefighters organizations, right, to increase training requirements and everything else, which has now come back a little bit to bite. So I'm not sure. I mean, I was surprised it said that the fire marshal's office said there are just 6 departments in Maine that hire career firefighters.
Career 6?
That's what what Channel 6 required. I saw it as I was headed out of the house. I'm going, well, it's got to be on their website. That's why I pulled it up.
Auburn.
That's not accurate.
No, that's not. That can't be accurate. I can
Well,
name you.
That's,
benefit.
I'm just telling you, that's what
Yeah,
it says.
yeah.
Anyway, I just, you know, we've had discussions about cost of departments and all this, and I know that the conversation will continue on as we start budgeting on, you know, public safety, which, you know, in law enforcement and the whole 9 yards. And, you know, I know you gotta, there's still this tone of the governor that's saying, tell me what you need, right? Well, guess what? And now these big fire departments are feeling the pinch just like the small towns are, because you can't get anybody. I think Scarborough went from 140 down to 40 or something,
Yeah.
the article said.
And as they're losing their funding because of revenue sharing, it's hitting them even harder.
So, anyway.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're not going to go back on those laws. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all safety type stuff now, and it's pretty much institutionalized. and you start backing off on some of the safety issues and the training for firefighters and for EMTs, holy mackerel.
Yeah,
And so you cross that bridge and you're not going back over.
Guess what drives that now?
Yeah.
The insurance, right?
That and
David,
some of
did you
the
have something?
federal regulations drove it too. They made it part of grant requirements that you have this safety thing in place and that thing, and it was the way of, the federal government to
This
impose.
continues to amaze me.
David?
Could we have a follow-up on Lee Burnett and maybe a letter or correspondence with the ATV and Snowmobile Club on?
Yep, I did reply to Gary's email today, and I CC'd Leo Bennett on it because he's the vice president of the Snowmobile Club that most likely would be dealing with that, so it's been passed along to the Snowmobile Club.
Okay.
And what I'm handing out now is just a few excerpts from Mountain Bike Magazine that a friend of mine gave. I think I'll probably join up with the outfit. A few selected pages in there. There's some are relevant to Maine, not very far. The Portland Club is in there. The outfit that's up in the 6,000 or 8,000 acre piece up in, is it Parsonsfield? We were talking about that before.
Yeah, you mentioned it to me.
Sounds property.
His advertisement's in there, so.
I thought when you
Just an
first handed
FYI.
that out, it looked like Duck Dynasty or something.
Well, look at the back page. You want to really get a hoot if you can really see that, but
Mine's blank.
that gentleman's going off that down into a very steep angle drop down below, and I don't think we need to do that here, but that's what some people do for attractions.
Oh, yeah, you go on YouTube and look at some of the,
Crazy.
I mean, it's unbelievable what they do on these bikes.
In your list and all your paperwork you have on your desk tonight, we have the Municipal Client Seminar. For those of you that are going to go, make sure that you fill out your form and leave it for Christina so she can get you registered. The due date for this is Friday, September 20th, and the seminar is going to be on Thursday, October 3rd from 6 to 8:30 p.m. And David, did you get to go to one of these yet?
haven't been.
It's very, very informative.
October 3rd.
They give you a nice
My
meal.
granddaughter's birthday.
But if you can make it, it's well worth it. We've even had members of the planning board go, so when you're at the next planning board meeting, if you want to mention it to them, it's usually a very excellent seminar.
Yeah, this satisfies the requirement for the newly elected people on the
Definitely.
FOIA requirements.
Anything else?
MMA? Anybody have desires to go to MMA convention?
Yeah, that's on Thursday and Friday. is it?
Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday, right. Yeah,
You can talk to Christina or
Yeah, I
myself.
left you a packet, John. Did you see that?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Reminders. Wednesday, September 4th at 6 p.m. is the Planning Board Workshop here at Town Hall. Thursday, September 5th at 5 p.m. is a Conservation Commission at the Old Town Hall. Monday, September 9th at 5:15 is the 2020 Master Planning Committee at the Central Station. Also on September 9th, 6:30 p.m. here in this room is a 12-town group, and at 7 p.m. on September 9th this is a Cemetery Committee, and John Gale will be attending. Tuesday, September 10th at 6 p.m. is the Selectmen's meeting. Reporting will be the Town Planner and the Planning Board. Wednesday, September 11th at 6 p.m. is the Road Review Committee at the Old Town Hall. Thursday, September 12th, 11:30 a.m. is the Senior Luncheon at the Snowmobile Club. The Thursday, September 12th goals for the Selectmen have been canceled. We'll be picking a different date for that. September 14th at 8:30 a.m. is the Cribbage Tournament at the Old Town Hall. And then on Tuesday, September 17th, Selectmen's meeting. Reporting will be the Assessors, Agent, Code Enforcement, and the Saco River Corridor Commission. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Good night.